You don't deserve to be a mother. Give the baby to Nina. That's what my own mother shouted at me in front of 20 guests at my baby shower. And for the first time in my life, I wished I had been born into a different family. My name is Clara Anderson. I'm 30 years old, 6 months pregnant, and until recently, I thought my life was relatively stable. I'm a first-grade teacher, married to Marcus Hale, a quiet, dependable software engineer who always made me feel safe. But 2 months ago, that illusion shattered. It started on a rainy Monday. I had just gotten home from work, soaked and exhausted. When I opened the front door, something felt wrong. The house was too quiet. Marcus wasn't home. His coat was gone. So were his shoes. The closet looked emptier than usual. On the kitchen counter, I found a folded piece of paper. "I'm sorry, Clara. I need time. I'll explain everything one day. You and the baby will be fine." That was it. No warning, no argument, just silence. I was 5 months pregnant, and my husband walked out without even telling me to my face. I thought he loved me. I thought we were building something real. My mother, Judith, wasn't much help either. When I told her what happened, she sighed like she'd expected it. "You probably pushed him away," she said. "You've always been a little too emotional." She didn't ask if I was okay. She didn't offer to come by. Instead, she sent my younger sister Nina to check in on me. That visit was strange. Nina brought soup and flowers. She looked around my apartment like she was assessing it, smiling that tight little smile she always used when she thought she was better than me. "You should move back home," she said. "It's not safe to be alone in your condition." I told her I was fine, but inside, I was falling apart. Nina had always been the golden child. When we were younger, she was the pretty one, the social one, the one who got away with everything. I was the quiet kid with good grades and no drama. But 3 years ago, Nina had a health scare. She told the whole family she had early-stage ovarian cancer. It was terrifying. I was the one who sat by her hospital bed. I cried for her, prayed for her. Then she miraculously recovered. And right after that, she married Greg, a sweet guy who always seemed a little confused around our loud, manipulative family. Nina said the treatment left her infertile. Mom cried for days. I remember thinking how unfair it was, but I never imagined she'd use that pain to justify what she did next. Last week, my best friend Harper insisted on throwing me a baby shower at her apartment. She said I needed joy, community, love, and for once, I agreed. We sent invitations to my coworkers, friends, and, at Harper's insistence, my mom and Nina. When they arrived, everything changed. At first, it was normal. Mom hugged me, said I looked pale but okay. Nina brought a giant gift bag and whispered in my ear, "You'll thank me soon." I didn't know what she meant, but I felt a knot in my stomach. Then, right after the cake was served, my mom stood up with a glass of sparkling cider in her hand. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate my daughter," she said. "But today isn't just about Clara." Everyone fell silent. I looked at Harper. She looked just as confused as I was. Mom continued, her voice loud and proud. "It's about giving this child a future. Clara is alone. Her husband is gone. She can't do this by herself. So, as a family, we've decided that Nina, who's always dreamed of being a mother, will raise the baby." I dropped my fork. People gasped. Mom walked toward me, like she was making a presentation at a seminar. "You've had your chance, Clara. It's time to think logically. Nina can give the baby a proper home. You can try again later." Then Nina smiled and stepped forward. "We've already talked to a lawyer," she said. "It'll be a smooth transition. You don't have to worry about a thing." I stood up, heart pounding, throat dry. "This is insane," I whispered. But before I could say more, the front door flung open, and standing there, looking thinner but fiercer than I'd ever seen him, was Marcus. He held a folder in one hand. His voice was low and firm. "Clara, they're lying to you. I have proof. And I'm not letting them take our baby." The room froze. Marcus stood in the doorway like some kind of guardian angel, but his eyes, They burned with fire. He wasn't the same man who had quietly disappeared from my life 2 months ago. This man looked like he'd been to war and was ready to fight again. He walked straight toward me. "Clara," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "I didn't abandon you. I've been gathering evidence, and now it's time to tell the truth." Nina's face went pale. She clutched Mom's arm, whispering something I couldn't hear. "What evidence?" Mom barked. "You're just ashamed because you ran away. Now you come back to play the hero?" Marcus ignored her. He reached into the folder and pulled out a stack of printed emails and transcripts. "You all want to know why I left? It wasn't because I couldn't handle being a husband or a father. It was because someone threatened Clara's life, and our babies." I could barely breathe. I grabbed his arm. "What are you talking about?" He looked at me, eyes softening. "You were getting those weird texts, right? Watch your back. He doesn't love you. He's safer without you. You thought it was a troll." I nodded slowly. "I traced them. They came from an encrypted app. But with the help of a tech friend, I linked the IP address back to one person." He turned toward Nina. My heart dropped. "I didn't want to believe it," Marcus continued. "But then I started getting voicemails too. One of them said, 'If you want Clara and the baby to live, leave now. She doesn't deserve you.'" Nina's face twisted. "You have no proof." Marcus didn't even flinch. He pulled out his phone, tapped twice, and held it up. And then we heard it. Her voice. Clear, cold, calculated. "Marcus, you were supposed to choose me. I've loved you since the beginning. If Clara keeps you from me, I'll make sure she loses everything. She doesn't deserve that baby." "I do," gasps filled the room. Harper stood up, jaw clenched. "You're sick." Greg, Nina's husband, looked like someone had hit him with a truck. "What the hell is going on, Nina?" he asked, his voice cracking. Nina's eyes darted wildly, looking for an escape. "It was just a moment of weakness. I didn't mean any of it." Marcus wasn't done. "You claimed you had cancer, that it made you infertile. I checked. You were never treated. You never had surgery. You never even had a diagnosis." Mom's face twisted. "Marcus, stop. This is a family matter." "No," I finally spoke. My voice was shaky but rising. "This is a betrayal, a calculated attempt to steal my child. And you helped her." Mom stepped back. "I just wanted what was best for everyone." "For Nina," I said bitterly. "You never wanted what was best for me. You didn't ask how I was sleeping, if I was eating. You just assumed I'd be fine, like always." Nina suddenly exploded. "Because you always are fine. You're perfect, Clara. The teacher, the wife, the soon-to-be mother. I was supposed to be first." Tears welled up in her eyes, but they didn't look like regret. They looked like rage. "I had to lie," she screamed. "Mom only cared about me when I was sick. And Marcus, he should have been mine. He always looked at you like you were the son. I wanted to be that." Greg stepped away from her. "So you faked cancer, lied about being infertile, and tried to steal your sister's baby?" "You don't understand," she shouted. "She always gets everything." Silence. Then Marcus dropped the final bomb. "There's more. She also filed paperwork, fake paperwork, claiming Clara was mentally unstable and unfit to be a mother. She was going to use it to take custody the moment the baby was born." I staggered back. My legs went weak. Harper caught me just in time. That's when Greg walked over to Nina, looked her dead in the eyes, and said, "You're dead to me." But the most shocking part? Marcus wasn't just holding a folder. He was holding a signed affidavit. From my father. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Everyone in the room stared at the paper in Marcus's hand. An affidavit. Signed. Official. From my father. The same man who left Mom years ago because he said, "Judith only loves control, not people." Now I knew he had been watching from afar, and he had finally stepped in. Marcus handed the paper to Harper, who read it aloud for everyone to hear. "I, Daniel Anderson, testify that my ex-wife Judith and my daughter Nina approached me with a proposal to remove Clara's parental rights. They claimed Clara was emotionally unstable and that Nina was better suited to raise the child. I refused. and recorded the conversation. People gasped again. Nina shrieked, "He's lying! He hates us!" Harper raised an eyebrow. "He recorded it?" Marcus nodded and tapped his phone again. The room went silent as Judith's voice played out loud. "Clara's always been too soft. If we push the mental health angle, the court will side with Nina. Once the baby's born, we act fast." I froze. My mother. My own mother had planned to legally steal my child. Judith didn't even look ashamed. She crossed her arms and said, "You don't understand how hard it's been for Nina." Greg's voice cut through like ice. "So you destroy one daughter to save another?" Judith didn't answer. Marcus stepped beside me and took my hand. "That's why I left, Clara. I knew if I stayed, they would target me next. I had to play along, pretend I was falling apart, to earn their trust and get everything recorded." "You could have told me," I whispered, my eyes full of tears. "I wanted to," he said softly. "But if I contacted you, they might have hurt you. Or worse, had you committed." The tension in the room was unbearable. I turned to Nina. Was it worth it? All this lying, scheming, just to get what? A baby that isn't yours? Nina's face contorted. "I deserve to be happy," she screamed. "I deserve to be a mother. No one ever looks at me the way people look at you. I had to create something for myself. I had to win for once." Greg shook his head in disbelief. "So you used me too? We've been trying for a baby for years, and you never even tried, did you?" Nina's silence was answer enough. "I was going to surprise you," she whispered. I thought, if I showed up one day with Clara's baby and said we adopted, you'd love me again. Greg stepped back, like she'd slapped him. "I'm filing for divorce," he said flatly, "and I hope the court gives you exactly what you deserve." Judith rushed toward me then. "Clara, don't let this tear the family apart. You're strong. You can have more children." "But Nina, this is her only chance." I looked her straight in the eyes. Then she should have asked, not tried to destroy me. At that moment, the door burst open. Everyone turned. And there stood my father, Daniel Anderson. He looked older than I remembered, but strong. "I told you," he said calmly. "If she touched Clara again, I'd bring the whole thing down." Judith gasped. "You shouldn't be here." "I should have been here years ago," he replied. "But I let guilt keep me quiet. Not anymore." He turned to the group. "I've already submitted everything to the authorities. Nina's false medical claims, the threats, the custody attempt. There's a case being built, and I'll testify myself." Judith screamed, "You traitor!" But the room was already shifting. People were backing away from Judith and Nina. No one wanted to be near them anymore. I started to cry. From relief. From pain. From everything. Marcus pulled me close. "You're safe now. They can't touch you." I nodded. But then my father pulled Marcus aside and whispered something I couldn't hear. Marcus's face turned pale. "What is it?" I asked. Marcus looked at me, hesitant, and then he said the words that made my stomach drop. "Clara, Nina wasn't working alone. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of fear, because of rage." Marcus's words echoed in my mind. Nina wasn't working alone. After everything, I thought the worst was behind us. But now, there was another traitor. The next morning, my father handed me the name. A family friend. Someone I had trusted for years. Someone who'd been inside my apartment, around my baby things. Smiling, laughing, pretending to be on my side. Rachel Green, my old college roommate, the same woman who insisted I let her help decorate the nursery, who kept saying things like, "Nina's been through so much, you have to try to forgive her." It all clicked. Rachel had been feeding Nina information. She was the one who leaked the baby shower location. She probably helped fake the medical records too. She worked at a private clinic. I wanted to scream, but Marcus stopped me. "This isn't the time for anger," he said. "It's time for strategy." So we began. Marcus sent Rachel a message that afternoon. Calm, friendly. "Can we talk? I miss the days when everything felt simple." She replied in less than 5 minutes. Of course, I was hoping you'd come around. It was disgusting how easily she took the bait. We arranged a meeting at a quiet cafe. Marcus wore a wire. Harper sat 2 tables away, recording video. I watched from the car, heart pounding in my chest. The conversation started casual. But then Rachel leaned in and said, "You did the right thing leaving Clara. She's unstable. Nina would have been a better match for you." Marcus didn't blink. "You think so?" Rachel smiled. "We just wanted to help. Clara's not fit to raise a child. We were going to make sure the baby had a loving home. I handled the paperwork myself." She said it like she was proud. That was all we needed. Harper sent the recordings to our lawyer and forwarded the audio to the investigator, already working on Nina's case. Rachel had just admitted to forging medical documents. Within 48 hours, subpoenas were issued. And now it was my turn. I filed for a restraining order against Judith, Nina, and Rachel. Our lawyer filed a formal complaint against the clinic where Rachel worked, triggering a full audit. Greg, bless his heart, handed over Nina's laptop, which still had digital copies of the false diagnosis letters. Nina hadn't even bothered to delete them. By Friday, the local DA had taken interest. And Saturday morning, the police showed up. I wasn't home when it happened, but Harper sent me a video. Rachel being escorted out of the clinic in handcuffs. Nina screaming at the front door as officers read out the charges. Judith standing frozen on the porch, her world finally cracking. And I laughed. Not because I enjoyed seeing them suffer, but because, finally, they couldn't touch me. They couldn't twist the narrative. The truth was out, but nothing could have prepared me for what came next. Later that night, Marcus got a call. From Gregorian, he sounded shaken. "I just got a message," Greg said, "from someone anonymous. It's a screenshot. A conversation between Marcus and Nina." Marcus frowned. "What kind of conversation?" Greg hesitated. "It's romantic. From before you married Clara. The message says, he chose her, but he wanted me." My stomach flipped. I grabbed the phone. "What are you saying?" Greg paused. "Clara, I think you should see it for yourself." He forwarded the screenshot. It showed a chat from years ago. Marcus to Nina. "If things were different, maybe it would be you." I stared at the screen. My hands shook. "No," Marcus said instantly. "That was taken out of context. I didn't mean—" I stood up. "Marcus, did you have feelings for her?" He went silent. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. I had spent months defending him, fighting for him, believing in him. And now, I wasn't sure who I could trust anymore. I stared at the message, heart racing. If things were different, maybe it would be you. It was Marcus's name, his profile picture, his words. The man I had trusted with my entire heart. The man I had defended against everything. My sister, my mother, my so-called best friend. And now, I was questioning everything. Marcus tried to speak. "Clara, I swear it's not what it looks like. That message was from years ago, before we even got serious." I stood there, arms wrapped protectively around my belly. "But you did say it." He didn't deny it. "Yes, but I didn't mean it like that. Nina kept flirting with me back then. I was trying to shut her down gently. I never loved her. I chose you." My voice cracked. "Then why not tell me? Why keep it a secret?" He looked away. "Because I was ashamed. I didn't want you to doubt me." The silence between us said everything. I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't cry. I just needed to breathe. And that night, I did a lot of thinking. The next morning, I called my dad. I told him I needed some space, and he said something that stuck with me. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do isn't holding everything together. It's knowing when to let go. But I didn't let go of justice. Not yet. In the weeks that followed, the legal wheels turned fast. Nina was formally charged with attempted custodial interference, medical fraud, and harassment. Her forged fertility claims were exposed, along with the fabricated mental health reports she intended to use against me. Rachel, caught in her web of forged clinic documents, lost her medical license. The clinic publicly disavowed her, and she's now facing felony charges. As for my mother, Judith, she refused to admit wrongdoing. But the community saw the truth. She was ostracized from the very social circles she used to manipulate. The school board she proudly served on asked her to resign. Greg finalized his divorce from Nina. And in a move that stunned everyone, he testified against her, handing over old emails, voice memos, and messages she thought she'd deleted. I didn't attend the court hearings in person. I didn't need to. I knew the truth was stronger than anything they could spin. As for Marcus, we had a long talk. He apologized. Genuinely. He showed me every message, every file, every recording he'd gathered. There were no more secrets. No more hiding. And when our daughter, Hope, was born 2 months later, he was there, holding my hand, crying with me, whispering promises he swore to never break again. But I didn't give him an answer right away, because trust, once shattered, doesn't heal overnight. It took time. It took honesty. And eventually, I forgave him. Not because I was weak, but because I was finally strong enough to choose peace. Now we live in a quiet home by the ocean. My dad visits every weekend. Harper is Hope's godmother. And Nina? She was sentenced to 2 years probation, 500 hours of community service, and mandatory psychiatric counseling. Her name is ruined. Her marriage is gone. Her carefully built image of the perfect daughter shattered beyond repair. But the final blow came the day she wrote me a letter from the facility. I wanted to be you so badly, I forgot how to be myself. I'm sorry. I didn't write back. Some wounds need silence to heal. And Judith? She's alone now, still blaming everyone but herself. The people who tried to destroy me lost everything, because they underestimated one thing: a mother's will to protect her child. I didn't just survive. I rebuilt my life from the ashes they left behind. And now, every time I hold Hope in my arms, I know exactly who I am. Not the quiet sister, not the obedient daughter. I'm the woman who fought back and won. Comment the number 1 if you stayed until the end and want more stories like this. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for the next jaw-dropping tale. Your support keeps these stories alive.